Welcome back to Roadies Roam the World. We hope you enjoyed the first half of our first day at Kennedy Space Center and are ready for the Saturn V rocket and Apollo Moon project complex. Remember to help us out with a like and subscribe to our channel.
So we're here where they house the Apollo 5 rocket, which sent all of the moon landings, attempted moon landings, and all the tests. Of course, here's Apollo 1. They all, unfortunately, perished in a test gone wrong. Ed White, Roger Chaffee, and Commander and original Mercury 7 astronaut Gus Grissom. Apollo 7, they're the first ones to actually go up. Apollo 8, they were the first ones to go all the way out and orbit the moon, I believe. Apollo 9. Apollo 10, they were a full dress rehearsal, and I believe did everything except actually go down and land on the moon. And then of course Apollo 11. First ones to actually land on the moon. We had Michael Collins, the commander, command module pilot, that stayed in the capsule. And then you have Buzz Aldrin, and of course Neil Armstrong, who was the first to step on the moon. Apollo 12, they landed on the moon as well. Apollo 13, that made it all the way to the moon, but did not get to land on it because of an issue with their service module. Apollo 14 landed on the moon. Apollo 15, Apollo 16, and finally Apollo 17, the last manned mission to the moon, until the Artemis program, which is supposed to launch in the next 2 to 3 years.
Upon entry into the Apollo exhibit, you are treated to a recreation of the firing room during the Apollo 8 takeoff on December 21st, 1968 for our first trip to the moon. While Apollo 8 did not land, they went all the way out and back, orbiting the moon 10 times and testing many systems along the way, advancing our efforts for a future landing. Let's listen in.
This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened.
This is launch control, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. We've completed our communications checks with the Apollo 8 astronauts in the cabin, and the communications are go. During this period, once we do get the firing command, the various tanks within the 3 stages of the Saturn V launch vehicle begin to pressurize. The engines are armed. 4, 3.
astronauts returning safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8.
So this is an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It is so big from behind, I cannot even get it all in frame hardly.
I could barely get everything in frame due to the awe-inspiring view of the second largest rocket ever built, the Saturn V rocket. As of 2024, the Saturn V is the only rocket ever used to take a human payload out of low Earth orbit and thrusted a total of 24 astronauts over 9 different launches out toward the moon, starting with Apollo 8 in 1968 and ending with Apollo 17 in 1972. This 3-stage, 363-foot or 110-meter tall rocket currently holds the record for the largest payload lifted into low Earth orbit at over 311,000 pounds or 141,000 kilograms. The last flight of the Saturn V rocket was used to put Skylab, the first United States space station, into orbit in 1973. This Saturn V rocket example at Kennedy is the unused rocket that would have been used for Apollo 18 but was never flown due to budget cuts. As we finally reach the end of the Saturn V rocket display, you can spend some time seeing other Apollo exhibits such as the command and lunar modules, and then a view of the astronauts' experience while on the moon. As a tribute to the first astronauts killed in the line of duty, there is a great exhibit on the Apollo 1 mission. Astronauts Ed White, Roger Chaffee, and Commander and former Mercury astronaut Gus Grissom would perish when fire swept through their Apollo test on the launch pad at Kennedy. It is surreal to see the actual hatch door that could not be opened during the tragedy. An unfortunate irony was that after Gus Grissom's Mercury 4 capsule door inadvertently opened upon splashdown and originally tarnished his career, that it was the lack of door opening that would ultimately end it.
Just to kind of show you, that's a mock-up of the command module. And that same thing is right there. And you have the whole big long rocket.
It's not every day that you get to touch a 3.7 billion year old rock, but this sample from the Apollo 17 mission afforded me that opportunity. We continue through the exhibit, viewing many relics, including those of Apollo 11 all the way through Apollo 17, and then get a fantastic treat with the actual Apollo 14 command module still scorched from the inferno of re-entry through the atmosphere all the way back down to Earth. While the Lunar Module, also known as the LEM, was never designed to come back to Earth, and most were crashed into the moon after ascent, we get to see what the astronauts used to land on the moon 6 different times. our first day concludes in the Apollo exhibit at Kennedy, we attend a show of the Apollo 11 moon landing and see firsthand some of the challenges to be overcome in order to have the triumphant success of the first moonwalk.
Reappears, things begin to go wrong. Radio communications break down. Messages to Eagle must be relayed through Mike Collins aboard the command module Columbia. Throughout the crucial final checks, contact with the Eagle keeps dropping out. And Flight Director Gene Kranz inches closer to aborting the mission. With the vital computer links temporarily holding, the moment of decision is now.
Okay, all flight controllers, done. 4 forward, 50 to the right, though. Down and half. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Tranquility base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
A short time later, history is made again.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
For one incredible moment, we are one people with one history, watching our destiny unfold.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It was a moment shared by an entire world.
Here, man, of the planet Earth, first set foot upon the Earth. It came indeed for all mankind.
With these first steps, mankind stood on the highest ground, and we saw our planet as our home port in the endless ocean of space.
Ended in December of 1972, but our journey into space is just beginning. I'm Neil Armstrong. The future of space travel is being written right now in the dreams and imaginations of the new generation. Perhaps that's the greatest legacy of Apollo. It shows our children and grandchildren that courage, imagination, and the will to explore, no dream is impossible.